Jujutsu Kaisen. Let me just first start off by saying shoutouts to Dame Shorts. My guy created one of the hardest edits I've ever seen. Was the catalyst for me getting obsessed with this anime. You, my friend, you deserve a cookie. This is one of the hardest edits I've seen. Amazing song choice. Builds the tension beautifully. So that was fire. Jujutsu Kaisen, what I would say, if you've never seen it before, it's like a fusion of Bleach and Naruto combined. And it looks like the author Gege had huge inspiration, and you can clearly see it. Basically, the whole story is about a kid who can see cursed spirits, and he gets thrown into a scenario where he has to fight these cursed spirits to basically save himself and everybody around him at the time. So this kid right here, he's the protagonist. Insanely strong, has a good heart. See his dead, saying goodbye to his dead or soon to be dead grandpa. They discover this disgusting ass old finger, and it turns out to be one of the strongest cursed objects. This is basically the MacGuffin of the whole series. Okay, this is the driving force of the whole plot. All right. Without this, there's no real plot. And that's one of the other similarities. This is why I say it's kind of like a fusion between Bleach and Naruto. Because with Bleach, there was no like overarching plot. It was just Ichigo just could see hollows. And he was basically thrown in a scenario where he had to protect his friends. That's basically the whole overarching goal of Bleach. There is no goal. It's just he was there, shit happened, and he's in it. And he's in it now, right? It's like a leaf falling in the wind, right? But with Naruto, the guy had a goal. He wanted to be Hokage. With this one, it's kind of a fusion, okay? Because the kid gets dropped into it, right? He has to... Where did it go here? He's stuck between a rock and he's kind of just... Yeah, I mean, there's no choice here. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place right here, you know? You either get eaten or you have to eat the finger. So apparently the finger, if you ingest it, can possibly grant you a lot of spiritual power. I mean, not spiritual powers. I'm getting this shit mixed up. You get granted a lot of curse energy. Okay, so he's stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. Either get eaten or eat the finger. Obviously, he eats the finger. And this guy, he's kind of like Rukia. Well, not really, because he doesn't lose his powers. He's basically the foil to the main. He's more like Sasuke. This guy eats the finger. He gets incredible powers and one shots this cursed spirit, and he gets his body taken over by this super powerful cursed spirit known as Sukuna. And here we are. This is basically the start of the plot. So it turns out Sukuna is the most powerful cursed spirit in history in this universe. Next thing you know, this bastard shows up and he is like Kakashi. I mean, he's literally built like Kakashi, even though the author says he isn't Kakashi. This dude is literally built like Kakashi. He is introduced as the strongest sorcerer in the whole universe, and he has this I think it's called 6 eyes or something, some special blue eyes that gives him some special abilities. I mean, this dude basically, once you watch it, this dude, you'll realize this guy has like freaking pain powers. All right, he can repel and attract things. Okay, those are his powers. And this dude has a really crazy ability called Limitless, where he can basically stop any physical attacks from ever reaching him. I mean, talk about being OP, you know? He's basically pain. He's the main pain guy. That's his powers. So this guy comes along, he shows off a little bit, you know, he tells his student, he says, because the student is watching, so he's got to show off a little bit. But, you know, this is basically foreshadowing for what would be probably one of the best fight in the series. And right here you see this is Sukuna's current power level. There's a total of 20 fingers out there, so he's only about 1/20th of his original power. And here you see the main protagonist, Yuji Itadori, takes back control of his own body. I think it's important to note that apparently the humans, they can't see the curse markings, only cursed spirits can. So these guys don't know when he's him or Sukuna, but apparently cursed spirits can tell, and the markings is basically just a visual aid for us viewers. So we basically fast forward. We fast forward. He's locked up in this weird seal place, and he basically tells them, "Hey, listen, my higher ups, they want to execute you for ingesting the finger, but what I did is basically I told him, hey, you're gonna ingest all the fingers and then we'll execute you. So then you take the most powerful cursed spirit with you, because apparently you can control him. Little did they know, eventually this is probably not a good idea, right? So this is basically the overarching goal, right, of the entire series at this point. The plot is consume 20 fingers and then you get executed. That's basically the whole overarching plot line. Not a good plan. Obviously, if you're a Yuji, this is not ideal. You were kind of thrust into this. You didn't have a choice. Well, you could have just ran. Well, you could have ran, you know? He had the chance to run away at the beginning. I mean, right here, he had the chance to either run away or help this guy fight, and he decided to help this guy fight. So, you know, I guess he technically could have chose it, but he was thinking about the fact that his grandma told him, hey, you should help people. So that's what caused him to go down this path. But let's skip to the real reason of why I like watching this shit. Okay, the plot is decent, but the real reason is the fights, the battles, the animation. This is incredible. Between the strongest modern curse, Jogo, and Sukuna, has to be one of the best fights I've ever seen. And then that little reveal at the end where it turns out Sukuna can also use fire ability, that was absolute, no pun intended, that was absolute fire. Jogo, for those of you who don't know, he's the most powerful cursed spirit in currently today, and you will see Sukuna make short work of this guy, like he's a child. I mean, the scene before this, he's basically lighting he's basically lighting the cast on fire. Like, this scene just shows how good he really is. I mean, these are all level 1 grade 1 sorcerers, with the exception of the chick. But he takes him out in seconds. I mean, he's just throwing him around like a rag doll. What an absolute beast. You see Jogo just destroying the shit out of the city. This dude just standing there chilling like ain't nothing's happening. But I mean, the real part that like got me is he just pushes this poor dude down entire building like freaking Iron Man style with Hulk. Picks him up and tells him, you ain't shit, keep trying. Gives him a little pep talk, keep trying, bud. But I mean, like, the real crazy part at the end, and I'll play my rendition of it at the end, but he basically says, look bro, I'll fight you on your own specialty, which is fire. This dude really said, anything you can do, I can do better. Punk. Crazy shit. Let's have a contest of firepower. I mean, overall, this is, I mean, you know, the fights, the choreography, the animation, beautiful. When we get to the later episodes of season 2, we know, due to, you know, Mappa's animation problems, where they're not, you know, where the workers are basically going on strike because they're not getting paid enough, you can clearly see a deterioration in the like, if you compare this fight versus the Maharaga fight, it's two different, it feels like it's two different animation studios. Yeah, right here, this is where the animation just drops. We found it, boys. Like, if you compare Malevolent Shrine in this episode compared to the one of the earlier episodes where he released it, it's night and day. Like, look at this. This is basically manga. This is manga status. This is not anime. There's not too much motion at this point. Some of the default assets I think are still fine because they can use like old renders, but like the newer one, the main assets, clearly you can tell it's not as good as prior work. Like, these background assets looks like they've already been pre-rendered, but the main ones you can clearly tell. If they given them more time, this would have been, I bet the animators probably had a different vision in mind when they drew this, but clearly with the time constraints that Mappa gave them, there was no way to execute it. Like, this is, at this point, this is like stop motion. It's kind of sad. You know, this would have been a way, to think the possibilities, this would have been a way better fight if they didn't have those time constraints. Like, I could see the vision. Even the way this dude's face is drawn at this point is like no longer as detailed. Like, this is all detailed because this guy's probably already pre-rendered. Like, just look at this dude's despaired face. Look at all the rough scratches. This is not, like, if you compare him to the previous episodes, like, even this guy's face, you can tell there's a lot more detailed compared to the previous one, right? You could have drawn this face way better And even with the despaired look, it could have been way better. So it's just sad to see what could have been. Like you can see so much more detail on this dude's face, so much more emotion. There's shadows, you know. It's a lot more clear and rendered. Like even with the despaired look, even with this despaired look in season 1, you can clearly tell his face is his face. It's clearly rendered. It's clearly rendered well and drawn to a final form. Like these faces, you can tell even with this like style to show the gloomy emotions on his face, you can tell rendered perfectly and it's finished. Whereas this other one is just like that looks like what it looks like in the manga. That's very unfortunate, the Mappa situation. But even with that being said, I mean, it's still overall is a beautiful anime even with it, right? Okay, let's talk about some other minor characters here. Okay, so this girl, she's basically like Sakura, alright? Name is Nobara. Pretty much got the Sakura archetype. Fucking useless. Has to get saved by the protagonist most of the time, okay, but she's got a brash personality just like Sakura, and that's pretty much it. That's all I want to cover for her. Like there's not much. I mean, she's cute, but that's about it. Some other minor characters, we got a panda, we got a dude who don't really speak, and we got a chick who can't see cursed spirits. These are the minor characters. Obviously the talking panda is a lot more interesting, okay. This girl is just really strong. This guy basically his powers is speaking. I mean, he can like say some shit and then it will happen in real life. So he has a pretty OP power, but at the same time, he can't really use it all that much. So that's kind of his nerf. So he's kind of balanced in that aspect. He can say like vaporize and you will get vaporized, but then he might be out of the fight for the rest of it, you know. And he only can talk to you in rice ball ingredients. We got this Giga Chad dude right here, and the really strong girl's twin sister. In terms of the minor characters, this guy is definitely my favorite. You know, this guy, once he meets Yuji, you know, starts having fantasies of being Yuji's brother from another mother, and he creates a whole fan fiction of him being together with Yuji since high school, and they're like best buds, and he calls him my brother. But he has this really interesting power where every time he claps his hands, he can teleport up. This guy basically has the same power as that dude in One Piece. What's that dude's name? Law. This guy has the same power basically as Law. The Shambles ability, where where he can swap any two object or people or person. So that creates a very interesting fight dynamic. So right here, he's teleporting him and Yuji around. This is a better one. But the problem between him, he has a lesser form of the teleportation ability compared to Law. He has to clap his hands every time, whereas Law just basically enacts like a barrier, and he can basically any objects just waving his fingers. Anyways, enough of this guy. The last character I want to get into is basically the main baddie of this whole show, and his name is Kenjaku. So this motherfucker, Kenjaku, he is basically the Aizen of the show, alright? He's lived a very long time, and he's been scheming for hundreds of years, perhaps even thousands. He was also in the same era as, I think, Sukuna. And you can see, this guy was originally, the body of this guy was originally Gojo, the strongest character's best friend, okay? That guy and this guy used to be best buds, alright? But they had a falling out. Man, we really thought this dude was about to dunk, but he ain't got no hops. They had a falling out right here. This guy was thinking, alright, maybe I should kill this dude, but he can't do it, you know? Can't kill all these people in front of him. So now, you know, if you watch the movie, that explains the prelude of to the series. Basically, he actually doesn't defeat him. Some other named Yuta Okotsu actually defeats him. But then what happened later on, how he gets his body hijacked, we don't know yet. So this guy freaking joins a cult, takes it over, and his goal is basically to kill off all non-curse users. So basically all humans, right? Because his belief is, well, how do we get rid of cursed spirits? We either control either everybody is able to control their cursed energy, so then they don't manifest into cursed spirits, or we get rid of all the humans, so there is no way for the cursed spirits to ever manifest. You know, it's kind of a bad plan, but you know, that's his conclusion. But then later on, at the end of season 2, we find out the guy who took over this guy's body, Kenjaku. Turns out he's been planning and doing his thing for hundreds of years, and he's gonna bring back a whole bunch of cursed spirits and cursed users from hundreds of years ago. So this is where we currently left off. So overall, you know, this gives off the whole Bleach Aizen scheming shit where he's trying to take power for himself. There is the overarching goal still, right? So now we plunge into a whole thick of what's gonna happen next, which definitely has me so I will definitely be following up anime and probably read the manga. And yeah, you guys let me know what you think. It's definitely, if you haven't seen it, definitely recommend it. And I'm, you know, the, what's the guy's name, Dame Shorts, is that it was so good he inspired me to create my own edit. So here it is. Sukuna no jutsu wa setsudan ya zangeki de wa.
知られているものと思っていたが、心配せずとも術式の開示などこすい真似はせん。構えろ。人間、術師、呪霊。1000年前やった中ではマシな方だった。誇れ。お前は強い。なんだこれは。さあな、俺はそれを知らん。